Welcome back to the last part of mid-morning talk with myself, Maimoona Mabena, and I'm quite excited to, introduce my next guest, a mother of two, gym co-owner, entrepreneur, and an MMA fighter known as GI Jess. Now, Jessica has built a life that balances family, business, and combat sports. And today she joins us to talk more on all-female dirty boxing event launching to combat period poverty. And Jessica, good day, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Assalamu alaikum, Maimoona. Thank you so much. So listen, nobody calls me Jessica except my mom when I'm in trouble. So Jess is fine. Jessica feels like I've made somebody, like I haven't made my bed this morning.
Oh, okay. And now also another thing I was actually, struggling with is your surname to say, is it Mouneimne?
That was a
Mouneimne.
pretty good. That's a better job than most people have done. So well done. Yeah, Mouneimne is good.
Thank you. Jazakallah so much. Oh, what a relief. But how are you, Jess? And thank you so much for joining us.
I'm good, alhamdulillah. It's really great to be back here. I haven't been on Salam for a while. So thank you so much for having me.
Now, to start off, would you please introduce yourself in your own words? Because I've used your bio to say a mom, an entrepreneur, gym co-owner. Please introduce yourself to us.
So there's a lot of hats, as most moms and entrepreneurs would wear. There's a couple of hats. So you can see the mess in my office in the back there. Sorry about that. But essentially, I run a gym in Cape Town with my husband called Pride Fighting Academy. It's an MMA academy, and then I also have a supplement company called Primal Wellness, which I started about 2 years ago. And it's a clean supplement brand that does creatine and electrolytes and collagen and a bunch of cool products, one of them being a honey pre-workout that we've just started as well. And then because I've got not enough on my plate, I also dabble in professional fighting from time to time. I fought a month ago and actually became South Africa's first hijabi MMA fighter. So another little tick of firsts, alhamdulillah. And then at the end of this month, we will be putting on a first of its kind all-female boxing event in Cape Town. And we've got 13 fights on the card. So 26 women are going to be fighting in the event, and all for a good cause. The idea is to raise funds to end period poverty. The organization that we're raising funds for is called Menstruation Foundation, and their goal is to make sanitary wear accessible and freely available for girls in schools around the country. A lot of girls miss school between 7 days to 10 days of each month simply because they don't have pads or access to pads, and so they choose to stay home and do whatever kind of makeshift job they can to stay as clean as they can at home, but they're not getting an education, they're not playing sports. And so the goal for this event is to put females in the ring. First time that so many women are going to be on a card, and funds and awareness will all go in a bit to try to end period poverty.
And with that, how would you then describe this season of your life in your own words?
Sure. That's a good question. This season is busy. It's a busy time, but I think Women's Month is one that is highly marketed and commoditized every single year. It's become like Ramadan, Eid, Christmas, where every retailer and every commercial place just kind of wants to push product and package it in a friendly woman's box because it's Women's Month. But ultimately, like, I think it's important not to lose focus on what Women's Month is about. And
Yeah.
there's a historical place for why we celebrate Women's Month. But I think you don't need another nail polish, you don't need another mascara just because it's Women's Month. But ultimately, if we can rally females together and showcase them in an empowered light, in a strong light. There'll be about 4 or 5 Muslima on this card. So not only are we showcasing female combat sports, but we're showcasing Muslim female combat sports. That's a big passion for mine. You asked me the season that I'm in. I think the season that I'm in is finding this balance between, I think, the feminine energy that it means to be a Muslim woman and the strength that is required from Muslim women in a modern context. And that's really the story that I'm trying to tell these days.
Mm. And with that response, given your titles and the many things that you're doing, more specifically being in combat and being a woman, because often the women are portrayed, as you mentioned, in the image of just softness and not doing some of the things that particularly Jess is doing, like combat. Like, can you talk us through in terms of how do you stay grounded when your personal choices and professional life are both under like public attention, or just like both sides are on fire and you need to be, the firefighter of your personal life as well as your professional?
Sure, that's a good question. I think getting older has helped to navigate that. I think when I was in my 20s and early 30s, I cared a lot about what people think, and
Mm,
every troll online was one that felt like it was gonna stop me from getting out of bed, so to speak. And I've stopped caring about public scrutiny, because ultimately you only answer to Allah at the end of the day, and you got to make sure that your choices, you feel good about them in terms of what it means to be a good Muslim. um, and I don't think you're ever going to make everyone happy. So I'm going to be too, there's a joke about being too halal for your haram friends and too haram for your halal friends. But I think, when you are, as myself being a revert, I make a lot of non-Muslims angry sometimes with my choices,
mm,
because they see me from like where I came from to where I am now. And so I'll get a lot of public scrutiny from the non-Muslim world about standing up and saying what I do about Palestine, for example, or
mm,
wearing hijab in a space that is not conditioned for seeing hijab. And then similarly, you'll have a lot of very call them conservative Muslims that will feel like my choices in terms of being in a combat space um, are not suitable for a Muslim woman. So you have to care less about what people think and know in your heart what you're doing is right. And I think what's reminded me that where I am is where I need to be, is if I look back at the examples of the women that were around the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. I'm not saying
mm,
that what I'm doing is the same thing, but we have strong examples of strong Muslim women throughout history. And just
mm,
because we don't have a lot of information about, their personal lives or what they did in terms of physicality, I think looking back at that time, everyone needed to be physical. Everybody needed to know how to defend themselves, because it was a scary time to be alive. Not just as a Muslim spreading the religion for the first time, but just in terms of like people were killed for very little. They are done now too.
mm,
So I don't think that there's very big difference between then and now. And I think people in our past examples needed to be physically strong, needed to know how to defend themselves. Um, and so they would have had to have trained for that. And I think their lifestyles lended themselves to naturally being more physical. Whereas now our lifestyles lend ourselves to being very sedentary. We all have office jobs. We don't carry water and we're not stockpiling and physical laboring like we used to back in the day. And so we generally are more unfit than we were. So I'm rambling a little bit, but what I'm saying is that I think that there is a legacy of Muslims and Muslim women having to be strong, physically fit, capable. And so I don't think that Muslim women doing that today is a bad thing. I just think that there's been a culture that's taken over,
mm,
where this idea that women need to kind of just be at home and sit still.
mm.
So I'm trying to just encourage women to keep moving, whether you choose to fight professionally or whether you just choose to do this twice a week to be fit.
Hmm. And with that, you have spoken about family and health taking priority. And with so many hats that you're wearing, you would think the next project you'll take is one where you sleep in. But you have now taken on a project, if I can say, or if an initiative to combat period poverty. Can you walk us through in terms of what brought you there?
Sure. So in 2019, we did
Mm,
our very first charity fight night. It was actually when I fought for the first time as an amateur, and it was the very first time we did a female only card. It was a combination of MMA, boxing, and Muay Thai at the time. And we partnered with, it was also in Women's Month, and we chose to partner
mhm,
with Rape Crisis at the time. And we were raising funds, obviously, for Rape Crisis. At the time, it felt like um, gender based violence was on the rise, whereas now
mm,
it's become so norm and part of our lives that we almost expect it in the headlines all the time. So we worked with Rape Crisis at the time, And when I looked at doing the project again this year, and I look back at how I struggled to put a fight card together then of enough women on the card, and
Mm,
fast forward 6 or 7 years, looking at how many females are in Cape Town and are training a combat sport now, it's grown exponentially. It was so much easier to put this card together because there are so many women who are fighting at the moment based in Cape Town. So it's been a pleasure to put that card together. And the idea of, look, fighting is a violent sport. You walk out being bumped, bruised, bleeding. And so the concept or the idea was, we are putting 26 women in a ring. They are going to bleed, for in the hopes that there are women who can start to bleed on their monthly cycles with more dignity. And that was really the concept of how this idea of period poverty started to grow. It's
mm,
definitely a more silent suffering. It's not,
mm,
on the same scale, or not seen as the same kind of problem in communities as gender-based violence, for example. So it's a slow burner, but ultimately, if girls and women are staying out of school, they're not getting an education purely because of something that biologically happens to them every month. That seems
mm.
like a very big injustice. And the more time women stay away from, or girls stay away from their education, the harder it is for them to then go to
Sure.
university, get a job, get ahead in life. And so if we can help Menstruation Foundation just by simply putting these pad dispensaries into schools, so that girls can continue to come to school and have access to a dignified way of managing their periods every month, I feel like we've done something good.
Hmm. Now, Jess, I want you to, for us to take a break. When we come back, I want you to just tell us a bit on what is all female dirty boxing all about, so we understand it. Because, hey, already boxing, Jay, there's too much
Now,
contact. So,
dirty boxing.
dirty boxing, now you can imagine how bad is it. But yeah, do not go far. And viewers and listeners, please do not go too far. Grab your water and run back, because we're continuing our conversation with Jess, who is sharing all things, how you can also probably contribute to fighting against period poverty.
Discover the Africa of your dreams and surround yourself with her spectacular beauty. Relax beneath her serene sunsets and explore wildlife at its natural best. It's where the pride of Africa comes together. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve. Get to know the Big Five or cruise on an elephant safari game drive. Interact with lion and tiger cubs and enjoy world-class halal cuisine while we pamper you during your 5-star stay. Indulge in the true African experience. For reservations, call now on 042 203 1400 or visit kwantu.co.za. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve, the place of gathering.
Gaza needs your support more than ever. Homes have been shattered and families have lost everything. With your support, our teams are delivering clean water tankers, feeding the hungry, and assisting orphans who have no one left. Let us give Gaza whatever help we can. African Muslims Agency, empowering, educating, inspiring.
World-class financial services only at Sapphire Global, your financial partner. If you are looking for Islamic, Sharia, and ethical financial products, look no further. Sapphire Global offers a wide range of financial service offerings, from short-term to life and investments. A full-service center with all financial requirements under one brand. Our highly skilled and experienced consultants are ready to help protect your financial future. Contact us on 041 001 0184 or visit our website on www.sapphireglobalfs.com. Sapphire Global is an authorized financial services provider.
Right now, in some of the most devastated parts of our world, places close to many of our hearts, Doctors Without Borders is delivering emergency medical care where no one else will. Your donation gives a child surgery, a family clean water, a community a fighting chance against disease. This is an opportunity to make your giving count where it's needed most. Visit msf.org.za/sadaqah, that's SADAQAH, and donate today. Doctors Without Borders. We go there.
Rejuvenating media day by day. This is Salam Media.
Welcome back to Mid Morning Talk here on Salam Media, and joining us we have Jess, who is talking to us on all things, her personal story, as well as just sharing in terms of what she's currently looking to host, which is, or rather, she's launching an event that will help in combating period poverty. Jess, thank you so much for staying with us. And I know before the ad break, I did ask that you help us understand what truly inspired all female dirty boxing, and more so, how does dirty boxing differ from traditional boxing and MMA?
Perfect. So that's the big question, because everyone's like, what is dirty boxing? So dirty boxing is a form of combat sports that currently exists in America. And it's a hybrid style of fighting that lends itself to a little bit of the rules from MMA, a little bit of rules from boxing, and some from Muay Thai. So traditional boxing, you're wearing anything between 8-ounce and 14-ounce gloves, depending how heavy you are. So the lighter you are, the smaller the gloves; the heavier you are, the bigger the gloves. And the gloves are closed fingers, so you can't see the hands. And that's the same for Muay Thai. But if you compare that to mixed martial arts, the hands are open because it encourages clinch work and grappling. And in MMA, your gloves are also smaller. For professionals, they're 4-ounce. For amateurs, they're 6-ounce. So much smaller gloves, a lot more impact. And the open hands allows you to be able to grab. So dirty boxing uses the same MMA gloves that you use in MMA, but it's a boxing fight. So you're striking only hitting with your hands. You're also allowed to clinch. So we're actually holding onto the neck, holding onto the head when we punch. And then, similar to Muay Thai and MMA, you're allowed to throw elbows. So you're going to find strikes to the head with the elbows, which in traditional boxing is not allowed. So the reason we chose to do that, and I would have liked to have put on more of the dirty boxing fights, but it's a unknown territory for a lot of people, because we're the first in South Africa to do it, let alone the first females to do it in South Africa. And I wanted to do it because I wanted to attract women from different styles of combat sports. So I wanted women to be excited to take part in this event who were boxing or doing MMA or doing Muay Thai. As it turned out, we were only able to put 2 of the dirty boxing fights on the card, and those are our 2 main events. So those are 2 professional fights taking place, and then the rest of the card is traditional boxing. But this is the start of a promotion of bringing a new style of fighting to South Africa. So our next event that we do will be a mixed event, inshallah, with men and women, obviously not fighting each other, and that would then open us up to a bigger audience. But for the first ever dirty boxing event to be done possibly in Africa, but I'm safely know I can say in South Africa, we've got 2 dirty boxing bouts happening. Those are our 2 main fights, and then the rest will be traditional boxing.
And with that, is there a reason why you particularly chose this month to host an all-female dirty boxing? And outside of that, looking at the event itself, can you walk us through in terms of what's going to unfold for someone attending the event and for someone who will be actually participating in the event?
So you asked me why this month. I think the answer is easy to say, Women's Month, but I think it's more nuanced than that. So yes, August is a big focus on all things female. I think previously it is quite difficult to market an all-female event to a male, let's call a male audience that you would traditionally think would be wanting to watch combat sports. And so we're just kind of jumping on the trend of this month being so female focused, in the hopes that we can attract a wide audience of women who are interested in watching women in this space actually compete, and hopefully then start to spark their interest in combat sports. So that's why Women's Month, or why August. And the hope is that this will then grow into something that can happen quite regularly. We're going a step further with this event, in that it's not just going to be an all-female fight card, in other words, only women on the card, but it's also going to be an all-female team. So traditionally, the sport is known for having male referees or male judges, male commentators and ring announcers. So your Bruce Buffers, for example, or Warren Buffers of the world that are known famously for being the ring announcers for boxing and MMA. Those aren't traditional spaces that women take up. And so this event isn't just only featuring females fighting, but it's also going to feature an all-female broadcast team, an all-female officials, referees. Um, your ring announcer is going to be a female. So we really are highlighting women in the combat sports space across different kind of spheres of what that looks like. And then
Amazing.
taking that a step further, the event is taking place at the Homecoming Center in Cape Town, which is a theater. So it's known for actual theater, for plays and singing performances, that kind of thing. So it's very upper, like it's a high end kind of setting. Usually, you would find these kind of events taking place in like a dingy hall. It would be quite seedy, maybe. People are wearing shorts and t-shirts, and often there'll be boerewors and even beer sold at them. So I'm really wanting to up level the class experience of this and put it in a theater setting. It's a black tie event. It's got a bit of like, it's going to be a little bit of extra to it.
Amazing. And in terms of, I believe tickets will be sold. How much and where can those who'd like to support, show their support? And also importantly, looking at addressing social issues like period poverty, why did you believe that this spot was the greatest spot to actually, host in terms of highlighting this?
So tickets are available on Cricket. They are 400 Rand for a ticket, and proceeds will go to Menstruation Foundation to help. We are aiming to raise at least 50,000 Rand. 50,000 Rand gives us a vending machine in a school that offers free pads for the entire year to every girl in that particular school. So if I can do that for just one school, I've reached my goal, but obviously if we can do more, I'd love to do more. So tickets for in Cape Town will be available via Cricket for 400 Rand, and we will also be streaming the event. So there'll be a link on Cricket to buy the stream. So if you're not in Cape Town, you can still watch the event. You can still support. So yeah, I'd love for everybody to be involved as they can. And I've just been involved in the combat sports space for as long as I can remember. So I think for me, in terms of trying to do something good, trying to make a difference, this is the space that I would do it. And so putting together this boxing and dirty boxing event, it's going to be high entertainment. It's very, very well thought through and well put together, inshallah, I think. And so I think people are really going to enjoy it from an entertainment perspective, and to know that you're doing something good at the end of the day.
And what's the one challenge that female boxers, or should I say female fighters, face in South Africa, despite its growth that you also mentioned, you spoke to with regards to, in 2019, the combat sport has grown. And looking at that challenge or those challenges, what are some of those challenges?
So there's a number of challenges. I think just as a female in a professional or amateur athletic space, particularly in a fight space, you are going through a lot of different challenges to what your male counterparts are going through, just in terms of training and getting ready for a fight. Obviously, your own, if we're talking about menstrual cycles, your own menstrual cycle and how that impacts your performance from a month to month or week to week basis in a sporting perspective. So having, for example, I've got 7 of the ladies on the fight card training in my gym. So we have a lot of women preparing for this at the moment in one space. And it's so interesting to hear conversations of, from a week to week basis, how each woman is navigating a different kind of season based on her menstrual cycle. We cut quite a lot of weight for this. So, there's a weight management element where you need to weigh in at a certain weight. And that obviously is impacted by your hormones and where you are in your menstrual cycle as well. These are things that men don't need to consider or take into consideration. So when you ask what are the challenges that women face as an athlete, you are going to face different challenges just purely hormonally than what a male athlete does. And then of course the fighting opportunities are a lot more limited because there are less women that are doing the sport. There's less opportunities to progress in the sport. Often we have to match make our own fights, or reach out to a fellow athlete on Instagram and go like, hey, I respect what you do and this is not a call out, but what do you weigh? Would you like to fight? Because your matchmakers are telling you that there aren't any fights. So we've done a lot of work in the last 8 years to get to a position where we are now in the country in terms of having more opportunities, but there's still a big disparity between opportunities for females in this fighting space versus men.
And Jess, in closing our conversation, what message would you like our listeners to take away from our conversation, and also what's next for you?
So ultimately, I mean, there's two things. If you take anything away from this, the one is book a ticket if you're in Cape Town to come watch the event. It's gonna blow your mind, even if you think that you are not, a big fight fan. So make sure that you can come and either watch in person or watch online. But then second to that, I'm a big advocate of having women train some kind of combat sport, whether that's for self-defense, whether it's just for getting fit. I don't think that every woman necessarily should be getting into the ring and fighting, but I do believe that every woman has the responsibility to make sure that they are the strongest and fittest version of themselves that they can. And I think that channeling that through a sport that teaches you a lifelong skill in the sense of any combat sport is something that both is going to equip your mind and your body with a self-defense mechanism, but also just you have so much fun that getting fit and getting in shape is a byproduct of learning an amazing skill. So if you take anything away from this conversation, that's what I'd love you to take away from.
Jess, thank you, Jazakallah, so much for joining us today. It has been quite lovely, and I'm hoping that we raise the funds. I believe it's 50,000 or 500,000.
Sure, 50,000.
50,000.
It's
50,000.
just a modest, just one. It actually just takes one person to donate the 50K. Yola, let's go.
Yes, it does. So hopefully we get to 500,000. But Jazakallah so much for
Amen.
joining us. And we wish you all the best for what lies ahead for you, Jess. And viewers and listeners, that's where we wrap up the mid-morning talk with myself, Maimoona Mabena. It has been quite delightful, inspirational, and fun. And I hope you guys got to enjoy our different guests that we had today. But do not despair, because I will be seeing you for the grand finale of Maimoona on the mid-morning talks tomorrow from 11 until 1 p.m. But on that note, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.